Bros, the only show that combines raging alcoholism with nerds talking about whatever. I'm your host, Max Steele, and as always,
Alex Moore.
The one and only. And today we have a very special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I have to introduce myself. I'm not used to that.
Go ahead.
You're
a wrestler. Cut a promo right now. There's your audience.
But usually, this is the first time. I'm Frank Voudy, hailing from Parkland, Florida. I weigh 180 pounds, and I'm a dual tag team champion.
And clearly you can tell that we are talking about pro wrestling in this podcast.
Yep, one of our favorite pastimes. It's very entertaining. It's not fake.
The bumps are real.
They're real. They hurt.
I'm still hurting from last weekend, and I have a show this weekend.
But first, we tell them what we're drinking.
Yes, we are drinking Biller Fight.
Biller Fight once more, and he's not drinking anything.
I can't. I'm still under that 21 limit. I'm still at 20. September 20th. It's almost around the corner.
That's right. Do not drink underage. Take this man as example. He is the role model.
Be like him.
All right, so let's get started. Frank, you want to tell us how you got into wrestling?
I moved here to South Georgia about 2 years ago, and from there I just knew I wanted to start professional wrestling. My family knew a wrestler. I got connected with Brooks Robinson of Robinson Entertainment, who runs SWE, and he trained me in the Sunbelt Training Academy. And from there, I moved my way up the ladder. I eventually met my tag team partner, Kevin Cantrell. We are now the Balance, and we are the current reigning defending champions for SWE, as well as the Pose tag team champions.
Okay, so what do you love most about wrestling?
What I love most is just the atmosphere, what we do on a constant basis to entertain. Is there's nothing like it. We're live. A lot of people try to find their different comparisons. It's like some people say it's like theater. Some people are just claiming that everything we do is just scripted to this, and this, when it's not. We don't know what's going to happen. We generally don't know what could happen in the ring. People have gotten seriously hurt in this business. People have given their lives for this business. And just how much dedication a wrestler has to give to do that. It just shows, a lot of people in WWE, I don't know if you know it, but the contracts that they get, they're still independent freelance wrestlers.
Right.
So they still...
John Oliver was just talking about that.
I just watched that. Watched that this morning. John Oliver calling out the WWE.
Well, my whole thing with that is I'm still a huge fan of WWE. I would love the opportunity to hopefully reach that mantle to be able to get up there. But at the same time, I understand things might be one way. But at the same time, you have to think of the two different time periods compared to the wrestlers. I understand what they're going through now. Like some of the older wrestlers, it kind of sucks. Yeah. But at the same time, things are a little bit different for the newer age. So WWE could be completely different going down the road if I ever hopefully make that. You don't know what it's going to be. WWE has slowly evolved. They've tweaked things there, and there. Mm-hmm. I understand you pointed out WWE has this, and this only. Why do they only have that? Well, the thing is that it's at least a start. They're moving forward. They're trying to do every little thing they can to help their talent.
Yeah.
And just as well, because the thing is, even as an independent wrestler, every wrestler makes something different. But at the same time, it's these two shows, I don't have health insurance for them. I put my body on the line in that ring. We all do. And that's a sacrifice that we're willing to take for the entertainment and the fans.
Okay.
Now, when you're an independent wrestler and first getting started, how do you branch out? Because I know you said you started wrestling with Brooks Robinson, but how do you go beyond just South Georgia? How do you find, as an independent wrestler, do you find gigs in Florida, Alabama, just outside of the company?
Outside of the company, as an independent wrestler, you market yourself. You have to sell yourself as an advertisement. So you have to physically contact these promoters. Some people just show up first couple times. They're like, hey, I'm here. I'd love to work for you, but I will help build the ring today. Sometimes it's just you have to travel and just hopefully they'll eventually give you a spot on the roster. Some people you can email. You'll send a wrestling resume at the companies you've wrestled for, who's trained you, etc. and it's all about winner take.
Hell yeah. And do you remember a specific moment in your childhood, like a specific match where you were like, after watching, you like, boom, I want to be a pro wrestler?
Ironically, my first match that I ever watched was it was Tribute to the Troops, and it was John Cena, Rey Mysterio, and Randy Orton were doing a triple threat. That was my very first match I ever watched. I was just flipping through the channels, and that's what hooked me. Professional wrestling as a child was generally my escape, and that's what it is in general. It's an escape. People who, they could be having that 9-to-5 job, busting their tail in, and they're just drained. And that whole idea of professional wrestling is that time, those 2 hours or 3 hours, or WWE's case, like 7 hours for their pay-per-views. That time frame is for them to escape their day-to-day lives to watch something that everyone can have a different opinion about it. But the idea is that everyone has the controversy. You have to see, wrestling has so much I can't say the word.
Controversy.
That word. But it's like everyone has their opinions, they go back and forth, and it's all because of wrestling. Wrestling brings out different things in people, and it's just why I love the business.
Now, we did mention some controversial, things have happened. And I just wanted to get your opinion on a very tragic event that happened, I believe it was like 12 years ago. Are you familiar with the wrestler Chris Benoit?
Yeah.
So in the business like that, all of these stories and allegations came out, years after Benoit's murder, to find out like he was first painted as like, oh, we lost someone. What happened to him was very tragic. No one saw it coming. But then once more information came out, you could kind of see that he wasn't all the way there, even since the beginning. So what does the business as a whole have to say about an event like that?
Well, with things like that, there's always more and more details people don't know about. They could find all the information about Chris Benoit that they want, but they can't physically think what he was thinking about. No one can. You can't personally know what someone's constantly thinking about. I know one of my fellow wrestlers, the pop star Johnny Romano, he apparently made a post that he snuck into backstage at one of these wrestling events when he was younger, and he bumped, I don't know if it was him, I think it was him, yeah, I believe, and bumped into Chris Benoit and talked to him a little bit before he eventually got booted. And because snuck in.
Yeah. But
the thing is, with Chris Benoit, there's just things that as a wrestler, and there's also things that he could have done, that he did, that could have affected that. Like my partner does that top rope headbutt. That does a little bit. It's changed over the years, but when Benoit did it, he tried to make as much contact as possible. So that does, after a while, the night after night, that wrestlers, because WWE and professional, like WWE itself, doesn't have an off season like a lot of other sports. They don't. They're working night after night doing moves. And I know I've had you both in the ring before, and you guys got to take a bump.
Yeah.
Rings don't feel good. You're constantly putting your body. You're going through a car wreck with your body. So you have to think of these guys who made it to the very top, and they're doing all that constantly, day in, day out.
Yeah.
Their bodies aren't getting the rest.
And it's like they have to travel on top of that. It's not just Raw or SmackDown that they're on. They're doing dark shows and like just constantly all over the place. And you really don't get the chance to rest unless you're driving a car or like in a bus just going to the next place.
Even then, like they still got to keep their bodies at tip-top condition, because they are athletes. Like they need to still look good for TV.
Want to get swole, bro?
And I feel like a lot of times as well, like, because when I was a college athlete and we would travel, like that would just put such a drain on you getting to the location, and then you have to perform at your top level. Like, what was it? AJ Styles, I remember reading this, was on like a South American SmackDown tour, and then had to go all the way back up to America to wrestle Finn Balor, because Finn Balor's opponent dropped out of the match like 2-3 days before. So we had to fly all the way up, and with a long flight like that, I think it's amazing the stuff that some of these high level performers can do.
The thing is, there's been times where they get to a show, even in the indies, some people run late. There's some big name indie wrestlers.
Yeah.
And they're constantly traveling, especially sometimes by car, some people fly by plane, and they're constantly traveling. You have to go from there to there to there, plus put your body on the lines, and then you're getting like minimal rest. So it takes some time to actually be able to recover from those things, but they don't get the time.
And do you think that things like that should change?
There should be maybe a little bit more time because the time's changing. There had pointed out that there maybe should be an off season.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I ever made it and got WWE and things didn't change like that, I'd make it work. Is my life is something I love. It's a passion I want to do, and you're willing to sacrifice. But having an off season would help benefit the wrestlers a lot. Girlfriend messaged me. But, again, having an off season would probably benefit a little bit because you have to think. My personal opinion, WrestleMania should be like the Super Bowl. It should be that final moment. Maybe take 2-3 months off.
Mm-hmm.
Let the wrestlers like kind of recuperate, and then they can go back to their whole Friday.
But how are they going to continue? If they're still independent contractors, how are they going to get paid during that?
Well, I feel like
2 to 3 months off unless they're continually doing dark matches.
Well, I feel like even then, like the wrestling companies themselves should make them contract workers and give them the health insurance that they need. Because every athlete needs health insurance.
Well, yeah, they do.
Especially with the stuff that falling off of ladders and going through tables and all that.
And I understand that. But the thing is, at the same time, you have to think that wrestling itself, as if you saw that show, was that even a lot of these companies, even when they were widespread across the U.S., and there was just a bunch of different ones before WWE bought them all, they all operated that way. WWE itself is just a global, worldwide, major independent organization, if you really think about it.
It's essentially a monopoly.
It's basically like any indie promotion, but they
just know where to put the money in the right places and pick up the talent and basically, as you said, advertise themselves to make it look like they're the best.
And the thing is, they are the pinnacle of the industry. Everyone wants to make it to the WWE because it is the world wrestling entertainment. It is the entire world. Being WWE, you get to show yourself everywhere. Now you have to think at the same time, too, after WWE and a lot of these contracts end, a lot of the wrestlers in the indie scene, they go back to the indie scenes, they do like their Comic-Cons, they do like their other indie promotions, and they do make a pretty penny doing those things because they've made it to the elite. So then you have to think of all the other bookers, so it all depends what the wrestler does, and only a wrestler can decide their fate. Because you have to think, Becky Lynch, who is now in the main event of WrestleMania versus Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey, when she was in NXT, she almost got fired. They almost let her go, thinking that she wasn't gonna move up at all. She almost got let go, and she did a whole article and explained how she almost got let go. Now she's main event. She's part of the first 3 women to ever main event WrestleMania. So the thing is, you have to evolve yourself as a person, and you have to constantly market yourself. You need to prove that you're an elite. You have to prove that you can be like Becky, the man. You have to basically constantly advertise yourself. Because if you're not willing to put in the work for yourself, why is a company going to put in the work for you?
Yeah.
It's a give and take.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously you want to do wrestling since, you can remember. So are there any wrestlers that you want to work with, either, independent or that are at the top level?
I know time come, I will bump into another indie wrestler. It's to come. I've worked a couple guys multiple times. I worked a new kid last weekend. It gives and takes in the indie scene, so I never know. I got to work a 6-man tag match against Duke the Dumpster, and
that was awesome. And Road Warrior
Road Warrior Animal was not in the match.
He wasn't?
No, that was Lanny Pavo, Macho Man Randy Savage's brother, was in my 6-man tag. Animal ended up being at the show.
He was, yeah.
He was at the show, but he wasn't in my match.
Might be.
But yeah,
it was a great match, though.
It was. I loved it. It was fun. I did bail out because didn't think my partners get the job done. So I took matters in my own hands and I decided to leave because I was the only dual champion in that match. But you don't know who you're going to get to meet, especially because right now I still feel like I have a lot of work to do before I'd even want to go to a WWE tryout or feel like I was ready for the WWE itself. Wrestlers, the thing is, you don't know who's still going to be wrestling in the future. People that I would maybe hopefully get the honor to is trying to be realistic about it, is probably some of the newer people on the card who are going into WWE. So maybe one day, ironically enough, maybe Brock Lesnar. Even though that never happened. I will never be Seth Rollins facing Brock Lesnar for the Universal title. Maybe Seth, AJ Styles, maybe John Cena started wrestling more, maybe have that moment, or just get to meet these people in general, just to pick off their brain, just to know more and how to evolve. Daniel Bryan, the new Daniel Bryan, and just so much more. I love tag team competition. I do, and especially with me and Cantrell, because we started as a feud and we evolved into a tag team, and as you see it's helped us a lot because me and him were just two singles guys on the rosters for the indie shows, not really. Well, I don't know his whole thing, but from my view, from the two shows that I wrestled on with him, we weren't getting closer to the main event. When we first started our thing, we were the Stars of Wrestling show where you came to see that. We were the pre-show. And he tagged with me, and people were making jokes in the back about how I turned Control into a pre-show, and then we evolved to become the tag team champions.
Yeah.
And we've been a really great tag team. We're two different. He's older. He has 2 kids, family, and everything. I'm still that young 20-year-old who's still trying to get up in the business. But our two dynamics just kind of evolved. That's why the balance. We pretty much balance each other out. Okay. So that's what helped us evolve. And now, after this, we got this. Hopefully more tag titles are to come. On that note, I would love to eventually win a first singles title. That would help define me as a wrestler itself, that I'm not just needing a partner, even though I love my partner and I love being a tag team partner with him, but being able to move as a singles competitor, saying that I can hold a title on my own, would give me more confidence to build onto bigger promotions in the future, to be like, hey, I know I can do this on my own.
All right, so moving on into WrestleMania, which is coming up this Sunday. It's Wednesday, I believe. So we have a little bit of time. Do we know the card?
The card itself, there's a few different matches that I know. I know it's Seth versus Brock for the Universal title, Ronda, Charlotte, and Becky for both the Raw and SmackDown women's titles. The Usos have to defend their SmackDown titles in a fatal 4-way
teams, right? Yeah.
Which are the Bar, Rusev and Shinsuke Nakamura, plus our 2 rising NXT newcomers,
Ricochet and Aleister Black.
Yes. There is also
Kofi and Daniel.
Kofi finally has.
What do you think about that? What do you think about that match? Because I watched wrestling from 2008 to 2014 really heavily. Now I remember seeing Kofi Kingston live as this mid card talent. He's now finally getting his shot. What do you think about that? As someone who's been grinding away at the WWE for several years, finally getting his shot.
Finally, WWE itself, you have to prove that you are the top. There's a lot of big wrestlers that you think that never are gonna go. You see them now, they're oh, they're gonna be something, but you forget that John Cena, he was the prototype when he first started. WWE almost let him go. Mm-hmm. He wasn't escalating, then he evolved into Thugonomics, and that's what escalated his career. So different things escalate a career. So personally, Did I think when he first started SOS was going to be WWE champion? No.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, the thing is, yes, did the New Day help his career? They evolved. They became multiple time tag team champions. Now, let alone Kofi had already been a tag team champion before. He was a United States champion. He was an Intercontinental champion.
Solid mid-card talent.
He was great. But he has proved, he's busted his ass to be finally prove that he's worth having a one-on-one WWE Championship match. He has been in the Elimination Chambers in the past for those titles, like the big major titles, but he never had one-on-one. Mm-hmm. He's having his moment. This is his first time ever. It's well deserved. He's busted his ass, and I'm looking forward to that match.
And it's crazy, like how it came out of the blue too, because originally Mustafa Ali was supposed to be in that spot, and Mustafa Ali had all of the buzz, all of the fans behind him, and then of course he caught that black guy. Was it a concussion as well that he got?
Yes, he did.
And they're just like, who do we put in here now? And Kofi. And what's the best way to push someone these days? Gauntlet matches, apparently.
Fucking show their endurance.
Yeah. But it's great because I was reading up on it, and what the article says that Kofi would be the first all-black WWE champion ever. Like how The Rock goes as Samoan, and Roman Reigns as Samoan as well. Like, I don't know what to say. Of course, WWE has been playing like this racial card thing about the higher ups being racist, but that kind of took a slide off last week. But it's great to see that a company like that big can play with arcs like this, and of course make the head of your company look like a jerk, like day in and day out.
Because the thing is, there's a difference between. Now, have I ever met the man? No, but there's a lot of different things because you have to think some wrestlers have like their stage names and they have their who they are. Mm-hmm. For instance, like with me, I'm Frank Voudy inside and outside the ring. There's differences though. So there is the platform for I'm Vince. I've never met. I can't really say anything. I can't say what past wrestlers could say about him. But I do know there is a difference between on stage and backstage.
Yeah.
There's two major differences. Because he's running a business backstage, vice versa, him now. And you have to think he's also grown up as a man, he's evolved, he's learned, it's the years, it's the experience. That's what they all say when it's just general knowledge. Mm-hmm. So Vince, when it comes to the whole racial card, I don't think anyone's generally being racist. You have to also think there's other people helping Vince. I don't understand Vince has like the final go, but he is kind of taking the feedback with like his kids. You have to think his son-in-law, Triple H.
Yeah.
And Triple H completely runs NXT, and he puts the title. And you don't see no one says anything about NXT being racist. It's evolving. Kofi's just paid his dues. The thing is, they're trying to put the whole racial card. Well, I understand he's going to probably be hopefully the first ever black WWE champion. I do hope he gets the belt this Sunday. But like The Rock, he's half black. I don't think there's any like racial discrimination in WWE.
No, I wasn't saying that, but I was like it was part of the storyline. Like,
well, yeah, it implies it's a story arc. They try to use it, and you have to think Vince came up with the idea, like he had the final go for it. So they're going with it. It's just it's helping the storyline. So
Do I think it's going to be match of the night?
I believe it's going to have some major highlights. I personally, with the different options that are going on right now, I personally don't know what's going to be match of the night. So I'm really just looking forward to a great WrestleMania this year.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Here's the question: will The Undertaker make an appearance? Because when we watched last year, he
squashed
John Cena just cleanly. Do you think he's going to make an appearance this year, or is it done?
Well, the thing is, he is. I know he left WWE. There was like the article stuff that he left, but he is technically back with WWE. So I believe there could be that small little teaser or like chance in it, but I don't see Undertaker having a full-on match this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a point to like squeeze another match on the card for no reason, or just to give an Undertaker another squash match. That there's no point. I do expect to see John Cena in this WrestleMania. They have said a bunch of stuff about it, so I am looking forward to possibly seeing him there. I know he's been having a very successful acting career right now. So again, when it comes to WrestleMania, I'm just looking forward to just a great one this year.
Okay. And another highlight match probably will be Kurt Angle versus whoever he's going to face. Hopefully it's not Baron Corbin.
I feel like that's the opinion of like everybody just from what I've been reading.
So what do you think? Like, do you think
Personally, if I had the option to pick that match, I understand he's picked Baron Corbin. I don't know what the storyline is, but it is, yes, it's Kurt Angle's last match. Personally, I feel like it would be a lot if it was Cena facing Angle, kind of like the whole like Cena debuted against Kurt Angle to have be able to wrestle his last match. Plus, the relative like I feel like there needs to be somebody facing Kurt Angle that has like a meaning, because I understand maybe giving the kid a push or whatever, but Baron Corbin currently doesn't have a major storyline going on.
Yeah.
So who is Kurt Angle facing? He's facing somebody they're not really utilizing in any major storylines right now, so they just kind of bumped Corbin into this one. And I don't feel like Kurt Angle deserves that type. I don't know what they go on to plan as of right now. If that ended up happening and it was Angle versus Corbin, I just know Angle would give it his all and give it one hell of a match. Of seeing Angle on TV and everything and just like reading about him, I know he'll give it his all for his last match. But if I had a choice, if I was backstage, I would have made it well aware that Angle was facing somebody else by now.
honestly, like, even if Cena didn't work out in that particular situation, still Shelton Benjamin like would have been like a great option as a match because they had tag team gold together, right? It's just anyone that has like any sort of history with Kurt Angle, yes, like back before 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Just some storyline, because the thing is too, you have to think like when you see also like the behind the scenes stuff that you eventually get to see, like when the Hardys made a random return to WWE and they got the Raw tag team titles up the other WrestleMania. Backstage, they had a moment with AJ Styles. They never had the Hardy Boys and AJ were never like together face the whole WWE. They were TNA Impact.
TNA.
Yeah, they had this kind of TNA Impact. But you eventually saw that they like knew each other and everything, that they worked together, but they were from TNA Impact.
It's kind of breaking down like this is WWE, the center of the universe, and showing like, yes, there are these other companies. Like, didn't they make reference to that before AJ Styles debuted, that he did wrestle in Japan?
Yeah, they never say New Japan or TNA. They're just like, he wrestled in Japan. He's famous from there. Like, that's it.
No, I know speaking of Japan, I know your end goal is WWE, but if you got a job wrestling overseas with, in Japan or in England, is that something you would want to pursue, or is your end goal WWE?
Personally, I have other goals that I'd hopefully maybe get to reach to. I don't feel like I'd eventually go to that route for New Japan, with full respect for New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel like that's really the angle I'm wanting to go toward. I feel like I'd want to stay within the general U.S. area if I didn't make WWE. So my whole field would be maybe more Ring of Honor, TNA Impact, possibly. I don't know how their company is going at the moment. I haven't really kept up with them. And then there's also the new company AEW, where I'm kind of curious what's to come with them.
Do you think it's always good, like, when WWE like has always been a monopoly and like other places are coming up to sort of challenge that? What do you think the competition from AEW is going to do to like just WWE and how they start operating their storylines and stuff like that?
I really don't know. It's going to be a new field. Chris Jericho still has a perfect good relationship with WWE, and he's going to be wrestling for AEW.
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't know. I'm curious to see how the two companies are going to go. I'm curious to see how, like, the level I do know there was like that one little like video where the kid was sitting like front row wearing an AEW shirt, and they literally told him to like flip it inside out.
Yes.
I'm not sure if it was for copyright reasons for showing the brand, or they just didn't want it like popping up on their WWE tapings or whatever. But I saw that, so I don't know. But I do know it's going to be interesting to see, and the companies might just kind of flow with one another. One might be here, and they just kind of coexist.
Now with other companies like AEW coming to prominence, do you think there will ever be another Monday Night Wars or a conflict between WWE and
Well,
such a company?
eventually, I'm not sure. I don't know if there's going to be the whole fighting of the two shows. I do know that was kind of a storyline that WWE and WCW worked out. I believe. I'm not entirely
I
sure.
thought Vince bought him out.
I think by then Vince did buy him out, so that's why there was the whole Monday Night Wars and everything. Because you have to think WWE itself, or professional wrestling itself, is a field where they they have to know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been people who, like, a random person jumps in the ring, and I understand it's probably a fan, but they immediately get like kicked the hell out, and like you really take care of things. So it's the principle of let's just see what happens.
Moving into the sort of last segment here, because I know time is important. Let's talk about like our favorite wrestlers, like past and current. So I guess we'll just go in a circle here, or a line. I'll start. Favorite wrestler of like all time, easily Jeff Hardy. The man just does insane stuff like every night, even as a 40-year-old. It's crazy. But those classic matches with him, Matt, Christian, Edge, Dudley Brothers, like those are what got me into WWE in the first place. And the whole reason I went to live shows like Monday Night Raw, like the CM and Phillips Arena, or it's now State Farm Arena. But it was to see Jeff Hardy like just do the swanton bomb off of the top rope or off of something insane.
What do you think is Jeff Hardy's most crazy, insane stunt?
When he jumped off of, you know, the little iron things when Raw used to have like the iron barricades on the side, and he was like up there, and Randy Orton was like 30 feet beneath him or something. He did swanton off of that. That was probably the most wild thing I've ever seen that man do. How are you not dead? And in current wrestlers, my favorite, of course, AJ Styles is like the man. Like I've been watching AJ Styles since like 2003. Like back in TNA when he had the little hood that was like latex and stuff. You're like, wow. He still does that in WWE, but like he didn't have as long as hair. But honestly, like favorite wrestlers right now are probably the Usos. The Usos go hard. They have like a different fighting style. It's like more, I don't know, it's more like actual fighting. Like they have tricks like where they do kind of like a split, low down, and then uppercut the dude, and Samoa drops, the 5-star splashes off the top rope. Like they're always just so energetic, and they make their stuff like look super believable, even if it's like against a bad team. But yeah.
Right. And favorite match?
Favorite match? The Hardy Boys, Dudley Boys, Edge and Christian, SummerSlam. Was it 2000 or in 1999? It was one of those years.
All right, cool. I'll go next. So my favorite wrestler, when I was watching again, I watched between 2009 and 2012. This was the time when CM Punk came out with the pipe bomb promo. And now I knew wrestling was, staged, scripted, whatever you guys want, whatever they want to call it. But when CM Punk came out and tore down the company, tore down Vince, and basically attacked the company, that's when I became a fan. That match between CM Punk and John Cena, Money in the Bank, still sticks with me. CM Punk really was like my favorite wrestler back then. Unfortunately, he is not wrestling anymore, even though I'm sure we would all really want him to. But as currently, again, I got to go with I'll go WWE and then outside WWE. AJ Styles again. I think just from what I've seen of him, he's a phenomenal athlete, phenomenal competitor. And then Kenny Omega, watching his matches with Okada in New Japan, watching his match with Chris Jericho, watching the stuff that he did was phenomenal. It was amazing. I cannot believe that Omega was able to get not just a 5-star match, but a 6-star and a 6 3/4, whatever it was, and broke the system. That being said, my favorite match is not from Kenny Omega, and it's not CM Punk, John Cena, Money in the Bank. It was Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. That was the first WrestleMania that I ever had. I had the opportunity to watch it, on pay-per-view live, and it was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. That match right there was the point that made me into a huge wrestling nut. Like that, I still watch that match occasionally, and it just takes me back to the moment. The contrasting styles, the powerhouse versus the quicker guy. It was an amazing match. That's all I really got to say about it.
I have to say, hands down, favorite wrestler is WWE Hall of Famer Edge. There is I saw a lot of his back documentaries, seeing the life that he lived and how he got into professional wrestling. He started he got into everything because he had to write a essay for free wrestling training, and he got it, started wrestling. He kind of just gave the whole spiel of how it was, and I kind of watched that before I even got into professional wrestling. And Edge, night after night, he gave it his all. He got to the point where he was wrestling, and one of my favorite matches I have too is Edge's last match against Alberto Del Rio for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 27. And he knew he was on borrowed time because of his neck. And the doctors, it was true that what he was saying, he was another spear away from being in a wheelchair. And he gave it his all night after night, the constant injuries that he got, and just the way he played Edge versus Adam the person. Edge is this whole career defining. He was the rated R superstar, and he brought a different level to wrestling. And my other favorite match is from WrestleMania 28 that was down in Miami. I actually went to. And it's the main event, Rock versus John Cena, the first one. And it's mainly for moral reasons because it was my first wrestling event that I ever went to, and it got to be at WrestleMania. And just to see them two go at it, and it was also a moment I actually shared with my older stepbrother Kevin, and it was the first time me and him ever did something just us two, and it ended up being one of the biggest WWE events that there is. So there was just moral value to why that one was my favorite match, and me and him were just going back at it, back and forth during that match. But just it caught me out of nowhere. I thought John Cena was going to hit the people's elbow, and then rock bottom, 1, 2, 3. And all the little John Cena fans, including myself, were just my brother wearing he had a shirt that said The Rock. But it wasn't The Rock in the ring. It was the San Francisco The Rock that has the old prison on it. He didn't have a wrestling shirt. That's what he wore. And he just kept yelling, "John Cena sucks," in my ear on the car ride home. But that match just had moral value to me. And that's why those two are my favorite matches. And that's why Edge is my favorite wrestler of all time.
Awesome. So that concludes our podcast of Beer with the Bros. Before we go, Frank, is there anybody you would like to call out?
Call out. No, I would like to say for this is that April 6th, I face the pop star Johnny Romano in Sunbelt Presents, believe the name is the Resurrection. I have to take on that prima donna pop star who likes to come out to the Spice Girls. So... He's been in this business for quite a while in the indie scene. I give him credit where he's been. He's a former SWE Southern Heritage champion, but I'm going to let you know that you have to face me this Saturday. And I understand, past due, you and I have been in a match before 1-on-1. It was not my best end of the bargain because you did come out on top, retaining the Southern Heritage Championship. But this time around, I'm the champion, and I'm letting you know right now, I'm going to give you a run for your money. So, Johnny, I hope you're ready.
Thanks for coming out,
Thanks
man.
for coming out.
Always great
Appreciate
having
it.
you.
All right.
That's
Be with the bros.
Be with the bros.